You're in for a great day today. I just want to, before I start, say that it is Remembrance Day. We're going to take a moment at 11 o'clock to pause and remember those that have made sacrifices for us. So I thank you for taking the time out of today in particular, and know that we'll take a moment to recognize those that have sacrificed. There are three core things I'm going to talk about this morning. One, I'm going to talk about some of the trends that Chris touched on yesterday in Firm of the Future that are impacting our industry. Okay. Two, I'm going to share out some of the data we've gathered on small business growth, and in particular, what small businesses think of you. So I'll share that. I'm sure that will be of interest. And then I'm going to take those two things and put them together to say, how should we show up as a brand and how should we market? Okay, sound good? Before I do that, what we heard yesterday was, if that'll come up, is that there are other industries that have gone through change. Blockbuster companies. Is it coming? There we go. That go bust if they don't change. And largely, it's because technology that's enabled new things to be done in ways that offer better choice, speed, cost savings. And so we must constantly look at what are the things that are going to change our industry. And there are four big things that are pressuring us, but also propelling us as an industry to adapt. Social, mobile, online, and big data. Right? So social, there are so many platforms out there now for you to engage your customers, your would-be customers. And the lines are blurring, aren't they, between this personal life and professional life. It used to be, like LinkedIn was your professional, platform, and Facebook was your personal one. And even that is like merging together. And so managing that on the positive side potentially allows you to have deeper relationships with your clients, but at the same time does require you to be really thoughtful around how you want to engage. It's also changing how, in particular, millennials expect to engage with us, right? It's no longer a 9 to 5. It's increasingly becoming a 24/7, which in itself can be stressful. And it's perpetuated by people like Chris Fudge that are only a meter away from their phone at any time. And thank you for that visual on the shower, Chris. We really appreciated that. Right? They're always on, they're always connected, and they're always close to that ability to just reach out and send a message to you. And even that is getting more complex as more always-on devices come out, like watches, wearables, glasses, clothing, packed full of sensors. I mean, it's getting to the point that they can even measure when you're stressed. I mean, that just stresses me thinking about that, right? And all of those things, those social platforms, those mobile devices always on, are sending data up into the cloud. And the expectations of small businesses, and again, in particular millennials, when we do work with millennials, is, man, I just expect that all to work together, right? It should just all go. The data should just flow from one thing to the next. Of course it would. Why wouldn't it? And so the expectations for us as technology providers is to make that flow easy. And of course, you can see that as we've shifted from an apps company as Intuit to a platform company. And the last is, if all those social platforms, all those devices, all going up to the cloud is pushing all of that data, which we call big data, that is now there for us to be able to say, hey, how can we glean insights out of that help small businesses and consumers have a more impactful, or have an impact on their lives? For example, other people like you buy supplies at this type of price, or benchmarking data, or other KPI data that you can use to help them manage. Our industry alone is rapidly changing. Chris mentioned yesterday that the number of apps in the Canadian App Store 2 years ago was 0. Last year was 30. This year is over 100. And by the end of the next year, we expect it to be over 200. And the US is already over 1,400, right? So already you're seeing all these apps come in and play a bigger role in terms of us, helping us deliver for our clients. It is where it's going. And so although we believe that the desktop will be here for a long time, it is because of this that we know online eventually will be where we need to be, because we will be able to capitalize on those other 4 big trends because of online. So if that's what's changing, or at least causing us to change, what isn't changing? Well, what isn't changing is small businesses' perceptions of the accounting industry. We've been doing research for about the last 3 years, trying to understand how can we help fuel small business success, and what are those things that we could do to help lower the default rate of small businesses in Canada. StatsCan data shows us that close to 50% of businesses will fail within the first 3 years. That's a pretty big number. And there's a ton of energy put behind starting them up, right? Government, lots of programs to help start up. But not enough energy is put into helping to keep them going. And I'm personally really passionate about this. I believe there are 3 things that we must focus on. One is education, right time, right place, right? And not necessarily one medium. Connecting them to the trusted advisors. And I really believe that is the most important thing. Connecting them to you that can really help them provide real-time, personalized feedback. And technology that enables those 2 things, drives real-time insights, real-time education, and enables you to be connected to them to give them real-time advice based on real-time access to their data. Those are the big 3 things. So it's interesting, the research that we did back in August, we surveyed over 800 small businesses. One of the areas that we talked to them about was, what do they think about the accounting industry? And so on the left, you have those that have never worked with a pro. And to the right are those that have, and now saying, hey, what do others think? Why would those other small businesses not use an accounting professional? And what's interesting is, after they've used an accounting professional, the number that say they don't see the value drops by 50%. And once they know what you do and they've used you, they're believers. And the second thing then that they say, why wouldn't others, is because they just don't understand the value. Those small businesses don't know what you do. And so that's a real problem for us, is how do we communicate what you truly do for those small businesses? Coincidentally, 1/10 of them say that they don't know how to find you, which also makes us think, one, we need to do a better job with our Pro Advisor site, which, by the way, we're working on, find a Pro Advisor, but also rethinking how you use social to be able to bring customers in. On the small business side, there's some interesting data here as well that gives us insights into that 50% failure stat. Close to 1/3 are not even consulting you. I'm not talking about hiring you on, but even consulting you before they start a business. Research we did 2 years ago showed that on average, small businesses start with less than $5,000. That's not a lot of money. And they're getting it from high-risk areas. Credit cards, line of credit, their RRSP, mom. These are high-risk areas. I don't know, if I borrow from my mom, it may not be so good. So it's not surprising, then, that 80% of the stressors are because of cash flow. There's just not a whole lot of room for error, right? There's just not. And there are very few that are actually going to the institutions that would actually force them to get their act together, like a bank. Only 16% are using a bank for their initial funding. And so it's not surprising, then, that close to 65% of small businesses are going into business without a business plan. Nobody's forced them to, right? Clearly, if they would have gone to you, you would have said, hey, you need a plan, right? We need a plan to work from. But so many are going into business without that. And that's a real challenge for us to figure out how do we help solve that. And I believe that part of that is doing a better job connecting them to you. So why did they go into business to begin with? Well, this has changed over time. It's not fame. It's not fortune. It's not, I've got this brilliant idea and I just need to get it out. Sure, though, there are stories of all of those. But the main reason, in particular in this gig economy, is they just want to work at the pace they want to work. They want to lead the lives that they want to lead. They want independence. And they want to balance work-life balance, right? So more and more we're seeing self-employed, either as primary jobs or secondary jobs, become a staple of our Canadian economy. And so the question is it the small businesses that just don't get it? They just don't know what the accounting industry does? They don't They don't see us for the value that can be provided in terms of helping them grow their business and becoming better educated in terms of being thoughtful. I don't know. I think yes, but I also think that as an industry, if we say we are compliance officers, then that's what they'll think of us, right? If they see, oh, we do income taxes, then they'll say, well, gosh, I don't have any revenue yet. I don't have to talk to you because I don't have any income taxes, right? We have to think how the accounting industry purveys, communicates the value that you all provide to them. So I'm going to give you some examples of different things across web, social, marketing tactics to think about. Not of the tactic itself, but how to communicate your brand. Before I do that, though, I'll remind you of Chris's challenge yesterday that we would like your best Firm of the Future website or blogs. We'll look at those at the end of the day. We'll announce the top 3, and then we'll let you vote post-conference on what the top 1 is. And of course, there'll be prizes for all. So don't forget to do that. So if this was your past front door, this is your new front door in a digital economy, right? This is how, especially in an online world, most people's first foray with you, with you in particular, will be your website. If your website is speaking compliance, then that's what they're going to think. This is an example of Facet Advisors. I think they're out of BC. The website speaks to insight, guidance, growth, the pain points of the small business. Your, about them, right? It's about them. And nowhere on that website is compliance, right? It's all about how do we be a trusted advisor to you. And I'll talk a bit about social, but our social manager often reminds us, if you have an audience of 0, you're talking to yourself. And so it is important not only to use the mediums, but also to advertise what particular platforms you choose to engage in. Andrew talked about this yesterday, Andrew Wall in his marketing section, is be really thoughtful around which ones you are going to engage in and make sure you stay committed to those. Posting them on your front door is really important. Andrew also mentioned that the #1 social platform for helping you grow your business is LinkedIn. And this is a great example, although you can't actually see the detail on Elaine's LinkedIn profile, kind of further down the page. The verbiage she uses is all about how do I help the small business, the services I provide to the small business, how I'm going to help the small business grow. And so I think that's a great example. Out of curiosity, how many people have a LinkedIn page? Show of hands. Okay, the majority, but not everyone. Go back and look at what's the brand that you are conveying to the public. And is it in line with a trusted advisor, or is it compliance? And although Facebook is not as popular on the business side, on the commercial side, it's increasingly becoming so. Those lines are really blurring between personal and business. And the nice thing is, it does allow you to be able to have more of that personal engagement that makes relationship selling all the more impactful. But I've seen more advisors now go with communities, not just their, sharing on their Facebook posts, but creating communities to enable people within their community to share ideas and allow them to amplify their message. And so this is an example from Jenny Moore, her group called Cubio and Quinty. And if part of what you provide is enabled by technology, then think about how you convey the technology you use to help small businesses be successful. This is an example from CPA Connect. You can't actually see the video, but it speaks to how technology delivers freedom, right? How they're using technology to deliver freedom, save time message to the small business. So think about what is the technology you choose to use. Are you using things like HubDocs or Receipt Bank that actually help with workflow? And then communicate that we're providing a service to you that's backed by technology that we know is going to help save you time. On the content side, there's a variety of ways, of course, of doing this, but a blog, this is TD Accounting Services, where they're using the blog to speak to what's the value we provide to small businesses and different tips and tricks around how they help their clients. Another example of this is Mike Ford pulling content around, in this case, the Liberal Party, on tax, the implications of all of the promises leading up to the election. This kind of conveys, hey, I'm a thought leader in this area, right? And he's able to blast that across a variety of different platforms, all from that one piece of work that he did that really sets the tone of, hey, I know this space, come to me. In a similar vein, Andrew Wall, who presented yesterday, uses YouTube to do the same thing. He's talking about topics that purvey, hey, I'm an expert in the industry, and I'm an expert in technology that's going to help you be successful. And he's using video as his medium to be able to convey that. He also uses Twitter a lot, and I'm seeing that more and more. Yesterday, he mentioned that his first client to his new business came from Twitter, which is kind of shocking. Now, we're working on pulling more of these content, these ideas, these best practices, and putting them into the portal that you all have access to. As a QBOA member or as a pro advisor, you have access to this. And we'll continue to build upon that, but this is a great place to go to get ideas, get content, get collateral to help with communicating with your clients. And so I'll end on this. There's 4 big trends: social, mobile, online, big data, that are pressuring us, but also propelling us to think differently, to adapt. That the small businesses are starting off not really knowing what you truly can do for them. But there's a big need for it. There's a big need for them, somebody to hold their hand and help them think about how to run their business and get started off right. Because the failure rate is way too high in Canada. And you have that opportunity to do that. But it starts by you saying with your brand and your marketing methods of, what do I provide? What value am I to you? If you say you're compliance, then that's what they're going to think. But if you say, hey, I'm here to help you grow your business, I'm helping to consult, I can help you use technology to be more efficient, those are all things that will redefine the industry, and I think truly will have a big impact on the Canadian economy. And I am super passionate that the number one thing we can do is help connect small businesses to you and give you the technology that helps you have the most impact in their lives.